Hey guys, so grateful to have you with me on this live cast. As all of you know, I love fix and flips. I really do. But rental properties have been a backbone of my passive income portfolio, and that monthly cash flow keeps going and increasing, the equity's going up, and that's a long-term strategy. So if you're planning on getting into rentals, should you go for the security of more than one tenant in a multifamily or stick with single family houses? Let's dive in. Do multifamily or single family homes make better rental properties? What we're going to be covering today is the difference between a plex and a single family home. My experience in renting a multifamily versus single family homes as being the landlord, the benefits and drawbacks of both of these so we can compare them. So first off, what is multifamily home? What is considered multifamily? Well, if there's connected units, it's typically considered multifamily, but more importantly, it's on the same tax ID number. So there's one tax ID number for that property. There could be two, there could be three, there could be four. A duplex, this could be a mother-in-law apartment in a house. It could be a threeplex, it could be a fourplex, it could be a normal duplex. The idea here is, why, if condos are together and they have connected walls, why aren't they considered plexes? Well, they are not, and this is the reason why. Condos are zoned and have separate tax ID numbers for each unit. So they have separate tax ID numbers, so they're recognized as its own property, because those can be transferred, sold individually, not having to buy all 100 of them if that's what there is in that complex. So what is a single family home then? Well, a single family home is a house with one tax ID number, and you can rent it as one unit. That's it. It's one unit. It's one tax ID number. So a few things we're just not going to be talking about today. We're not going to be talking about commercial properties. We're not going to be talking about mixed-use properties. We're not going to be talking about land. We're not talking about large complexes with 5 or more. And the reason for that is, if it's under 4, it's considered for loan purposes to be single family. Even if it's duplex, threeplex, fourplex, it's considered to be single family. And the reason for that is you can get a traditional single family loan on a fourplex, live in one of them, rent out the other 3, and it's something that is considered. Why? I have no idea, but 5+ is where you get into what's called commercial. Now, let me tell a little bit of my story, okay? My dad invested in plexes, duplex, threeplex, fourplex. I would spend my summers fixing up the properties, typically with my grandfather. And in 1999, I bought my first rental property, okay? I followed the same example as what they did, and I purchased a duplex. And I turned this duplex actually into a threeplex. So what we did is we took out some stairs going down, so there wasn't any stairs. We put a kitchenette downstairs and turned it into a 1-bedroom rental. This is the property right here. It's a duplex, but it faces, long ways. So you actually walk out. There's a door, and then there is a place going down, and there's parking behind there. It's kind of a odd looking from this view. I continued to buy more plexes. Purchased a fourplex, I purchased some other plexes. And why did my dad like plexes? Well, let's talk about it. It was very rare that you had both sides empty. You typically always had one tenant. That was one of the reasons that he liked it. You typically always have at least one side full. It's pretty affordable. Like the rent on that, if there's an economic downturn, pretty much most people can afford renting a plex because they're typically lower priced. They're on the lower end of the price scale, which means you've got a lot of people to choose from that could be renting. Duplex, threeplex, fourplex, as I talked about earlier, are financed as single family. So it's quite a bit easier to get financing on these than it is for a 5+, which is considered commercial. They generally have better cash flow. Plexes typically generally have better cash flow. Now, let's talk about some of the things I did not like about plexes in the time that I owned plexes, which right now I don't have any plexes except for I've got a commercial property that has 2 units, but it's really not considered a plex. And I did that intentionally, and I'm going to tell you more about it here in just a moment. So the tenants are more transient, meaning most people don't last a year. They're typically there for 6 months, 8 months. They typically can leave without a lot of notice, so you're typically dealing with more transient tenants. And the most expensive part of a rental property is turnover. It's called get ready. You got to deal with carpet, you got to deal with paint, repairs, and you also have lost rent while the property is vacant or being repaired. So if I've got to deal with those types of things, I'm going to lose a lot of money having the property sit there while it's getting fixed up. Tenants being too close to each other, fighting with each other, not liking each other. I had issues with that. A lot of the plexes are not the best built, and you can hear the neighbor next door, and that can get annoying in a fast way. Renting to tenants, using the landlord fixing everything. Okay, so basically what I mean by this is the tenants that were in plexes expected the Marriott. Hey, my water's leaking, come fix it. Oh, hey, my toilet doesn't flush, come plunge it. Hey, I got toilet paper stuck, come fix it. You know, that type of stuff. So these tenants were used to having a phone call and somebody comes and fixes it. Lots of them are used to an apartment complex where they just make a phone call, there's a guy on site, he comes and fixes it. I don't want those types of tenants. That's not for me. Not saying that may not be for you, but it's not for me. I don't like that. So with plexes, you typically get better cash flow, you get a better ROI. With houses, I have less turnover. My tenant usually stays for 5 years or longer, which is fantastic. And this saves me a ton of money in get ready or tenant turnover because I don't have the vacancies every single year. I don't have to deal with fixing things up every single year. And I set the expectations. I don't like to rent to people that don't have a toolbox and don't have lawn care. If they don't have a toolbox and they don't have a lawnmower, they're not a good tenant for me. And those are on my rental application because I want to make sure I'm dealing with somebody that is willing and able to do those things on their own and doesn't expect to call the Marriott and say, come fix this, I want them to. The tenants I treat are more like homeowners. They see it their house. They are doing things to it. They're improving it. They like it. They're staying in the neighborhood. They're becoming a part of the community. Their kids are going to the school. They want to be there for a long time. So I like to deal in long-term rentals. And I find that's a lot better with houses than it is with plexes. Now, it's a strategy. There's lots of strategies. This is what I like and why I like it. There is a strategy for plexes. I'm not saying there's not. I just want to understand the differences and give you my perspective. So I have so much less management than I had with plexes. So much less management. If you think about it, if I was dealing with tenant turnover every 6 months, I was having it turn over twice a year. Now I'm dealing with a tenant turnover every 5 years. That's a massive difference in lost rents and those types of things. I currently do not own any plexes other than a commercial property. And I own some limited partnerships, but those are commercial properties as well. So I don't have the duplex, threeplex, fourplex. So the question is, hey, Ryan, are you saying I should not be buying plexes? And my answer is no. Okay. You got to start somewhere. I think you should look at every good deal you can get. Every good deal you can get. Duplex, threeplex, fourplex house. If it's a good deal, you should be looking at it. And you may need to start with plexes and work your way up to better properties. You can do that with a strategy called a 1031 exchange. It's called a deferred exchange, where basically if you buy the plex and you hold it for a couple of years and you sell it, all the money from that can go into another property, but you have to transfer the debt as well. But you can take that and turn it into 2 properties if you've got enough money to do that from the sell and the proceeds. So that can be a great way where you can grow, but keep in mind, you are going to have higher management on those. And the cash flows can be deceiving just because that tenant turnover is hard to calculate. So this can help you grow your rental portfolio. Just realize what you're getting into. Okay, plexes need more management. Plexes have more turnover. So then somebody will say, well, Ryan, I'll just hire a property manager. No. You are just one of many if you hire a property manager. If they charge, 7 to 10%, let's say that the rent on each side is $750, so $1,500, they get $150 per month. My question is, how much work are they really willing to do for $150? And I'm going to say 1 to 3 hours, maybe 1 to 2 hours. So you've got to be careful with this because no one's going to care about your property more than you do. And the more management intense it is, the more expensive it's going to be for a property manager that's going to be handling these things. So learn how to manage properties so you can manage them and make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. The difference between 10% could be making money and losing money. And it's also very difficult to find good managers, property managers. They're very difficult to find. It is a rare breed. Now, there's benefits with either one, the multi or the single family. You're getting this with both. You're getting passive income. You're getting appreciation, which basically means as time goes on, values typically go up, and you're getting that asset is becoming worth more money as time goes on. There's also the amortization. What's an amortization? Well, each month when your tenant is making that payment, part of that payment is paying that mortgage, and part of that mortgage is paying down principal. And as you pay down principal, each month that goes by, you're paying down a little bit more principal. The longer you've got the loan, the more principal pay down you're actually having. So you're paying down principal. The other thing that happens over time is rents increase. They just do. If you look at the graph, there's ups, there's downs, but they're going up. That's all there is to it. Rents simply increase. The other thing to think about is there are some tax write-offs as you're dealing with either one of these types of properties, as well as business write-offs when you're writing off cell phones and some gas and some use of the car and those types of things. Make sure you talk to a CPA, but there are benefits in doing that. So we want to make sure those are things that you are taking advantage of. So what to look for in rental properties? Well, there's some things you've got to be aware of. And that first property I showed you, my duplex, the first property I owned, there was parking issues, man. And that was no fun. So there's off-street parking, as you saw. And then there was a little kind of private lane, and there was a two covered carport. So it was okay, but to turn that into 3 units, parking was definitely an issue, and we were pushing it. Utilities separate for each. If you don't have separate utilities, you're gonna have to figure out a way to bill for utilities. Can you do that? Yes, but the ideal is you have separate utilities is the ideal situation. What schools are these in? You need to look at the school district. You need to look at the schools that are around there, because good tenants typically want to be in good school districts. And so you want to be checking out school districts and where it is. Next thing we want to talk about is crime. If you're in a crime area where there's violent crime and there's gunshots and those types of things, that is not going to be a good rental property, because the type of people that want to rent in that neighborhood, I can assure you, are not the type of people you want to be renting to. So be very careful with this. This is what you're looking for if you're looking to purchase a rental property, regardless if it's a single family home or if it's a flex. Those things are applying to both types of property.